Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Me. Good morning. Sorry about all that chewing there. I always have on my list there, turn off the microphone, and I didn't do it. So bad. Can we turn on the light here? There we go. Much better. So, a little behind here today. Here's the open is actually pretty quiet. We do have retail sales, right? If I recall correctly here, it's going to be core retail sales, import prices. And then at 7:15, so in 45 minutes, capacity utilization rate, industrial production. And then at 10 o'clock Eastern time, business inventories and AHP Housing Market Index. And Fed Chair Powell speaking. Let's see, what does it say about him? Due to deliver a speech titled Aspects of Monetary Policy in the Post-Crisis Era at the French G7 Presidency 2019 in Paris. So that might not be as... Well, actually, probably is going to say something, worth knowing about. So... we'll see. Anyways, I got here IQ, good morning. Live action. Recent rains put downward pressure in grains floor, looking for 430 to hold in corn. Beans broke VPOC from last week to the downside. Managed money funds short Minution going to China. That I think you have a really good summary of stuff there. You should, if you're not putting that stuff in the agriculture channel in Discord, I would really encourage you to go and do that. I said I was going to turn the bot on, but I didn't do it. Should I turn it on? Let's turn it on. We're going to turn him on because let's turn on relay mode. Okay. Anyways, and then I also see Nicholas Uzi, live action, wrong. Wow, we got everybody in here. 10 people watching this morning. Thank you guys for watching. That's a lot. So we opened at 025. That's interesting. Well, anyways, to the charts first, right? If we look in the E-mini, yesterday was a pretty sideways day. There was a little bit of downward motion on the open, but it didn't get very far and we came back up. So, when we look at the volume profile and all that stuff, it's still higher and higher. When we look in ZN, we're pretty much in the same range that we spent most of the day yesterday in. It was a very, very tight day. We did get a move up, a little bit of a move up towards the later end of my session yesterday. Based on the way that all turned out and everything, it kind of looks random to me. Like it was just luck. So, yeah. Okay, so I can see some large offers being put on right here at 03. Let's pull out my little spreadsheet here I got. July trade notes. Okay. July 16th. large offers being placed at 030. So, given it's pretty quiet, I think you'd likely to reverse, but let's see. The tendency has been they'll go through a little bit and reverse. Also, I did make a little change to my indicator. Probably not something I should do because we're supposed to be saying out we're going to follow this one thing and not change anything for 2 weeks, right? But I realized that my indicator was missing some data. So I changed it so that it shows you, because this is all based on level 2, although there's filtering involved, right? But I'm showing stacking and pulling now. So the blue is the stacking and the red is the pulling. So you can see there was a bunch of stacks put on the offer at 03. That means likely to turn. Should turn this. I'm gonna try and post. Okay. Hold on a second. There is an iceberg at 03 now. That's curious. Oh, another thing that we got today is Goldman Sachs reports their earnings. My boys, I have some stock with them, so I'm going to be interested to see. And I really want to know how well their Marcus, there you go, tick up. I really want to know how well their consumer banking business is doing. It should still be small, but have they had success with what they had? Because the whole current theory is that they're going to continue to grow that, and that's where some growth is going to come from. So I'm interested in that. Anyways, and then let's see here. Who was it? We did our IEO today. Initial something offering. That's cool, bro. Thank you for visiting us on Twitch. Most of our people are on YouTube, but always appreciate when we see stuff. I see the restream bot is working. You sold out 5 seconds. Well, how much did you offer? I'm interested to know. Years ago, I remember the Kelter channel working great for months, then suddenly it stopped working as market conditions changed. Had to change the settings. This became a bigger problem down the road. Did they already report? Let me check CNBC. I know that it was before the bell, but I didn't know that it was already. I know that JP Morgan beat. Ooh, yes. Goldman Sachs reports earnings of 5.81 per share. Wow, that's good. That's way better than I would have expected. Bank reports better than expected total investment banking revenue. Equities beat coming in at 2.0. Yeah, okay, I would probably expect that because trading has been pretty good lately, hasn't it? Okay, so Points for Balls says, does anyone have a rolling VWAP indicator for NinjaTrader 8? define. $5 million in tokens. Well, that's interesting. Okay, so there was a slight move up and then they pushed down again. And the bids are pulling. Look at that. Oh. So I think all of that pulling is for the news, huh? Durr. I'm so silly. So let's pull this up over here. Oops. Okay, I'm waiting for the number. June advanced retail sales, spot 4 versus spot 2 expected. So much stronger than expected. Treasuries definitely moving down on that. ES up a little bit. Actually, not a ton. That's kind of odd. We need to dig into these numbers a little bit more. Let's see here. Core retail sales is spot 4 versus spot 1. Retail sales, spot 4 versus 1. Import prices negative spot 9 versus spot 7. Well, that's surprising. Oh, well, you know what? We should go in here and we should reset this. There. So we can see. We are below the previous open. We did not touch the previous low. Certainly below the opening range, so we would prefer shorts, right? So the fact that when we came in here, then there was a lot more pulling of large bids than there was of large offers, I find incredibly interesting. Okay, so anyways, live action says the Skelter problem extended to trade log and that market would have behaved differently under similar prior conditions. Naked chart, same problem. Yeah, so, I mean, this just goes back to something that I've said so many times before, is that the market changes, and when it changes, it's almost like the indicator will flip on its head, you know? So if we're looking at the DOM, I think the best example, I was watching, was it you live action that was suggesting that BLB Capital video yesterday? So I watched that video, and he gave a couple of really interesting setups in, well, he was talking about oil, but you definitely see them in treasuries. And so he was talking about spaces where, like, you know, you move up to a high and you see reloading, and then if they don't follow through and they have to go into it a second time, they're 90% of the time they're trapped, is what he says. Which might be true if you get it down as specifically as he did. But, you know, some of the things he was talking about were like, you know, people go in and buy the highs and they get trapped. It's like, okay, yeah, here in the summer, that's what you see happen most of the time. Absolutely. But then when it's like at the beginning of the year in treasuries, they'll blow through it every time, no matter what. It's like it completely flips on its head. All of a sudden, you can do the reload at the high, and they'll hit the high every time and break it. And then it'll go into this other market where it fails every time. And almost every indicator that I've ever done back testing on, if you just do it on a single thing, I mean, if it's as simple as one indicator, You will always, if you back test it far back enough, you will always find long periods of time where it works really well and long periods of time where it does not work at all. Well, this is incredibly interesting. So we're going to get back here 127 even is a very key level going back quite a ways. And it also happens to be the midpoint of this move down that we had. So that might be a good spot to look at. We did see when we moved down, you could see the large bids and offers stepping up to do something about it. Okay, so wasn't enough to get filled at 129, but 1, 2, 3, 4. This one up here turned, there was more interest, but so right here, yes, like past 3 days or something instead of breaking. Yeah. You should block the restream bot. You don't want to know what the guys in Discord are doing. You can. Oh, that's interesting. You can block him on YouTube. But it is still going down. After the 5th time it said we sold off in 5 seconds. Where did it say that? Wait, let's come here to my live dashboard. Oh, well, that guy was coming from Discord. So, you don't want to talk to our friends on, sorry, not on Discord, on Twitch. You don't want to talk to our friends on Twitch? Well, that's okay. You can turn him off, but let's give him 3 days. We'll give the bot 3 days. If you guys are still complaining about him after 3 days, then we'll turn him off. The bot was just repeating posts. Oh, was it saying it over and over again? Ah, you're right. Oh, that's weird. And there must be something off with it because it's not repeating the stuff in the Discord. It's doing it in the stream channel, but not the interest rates channel, which is odd. Looks like both a good swing entry bull spot and a bear spot to me playing it at the moment. So that one right there is interesting. They pushed it back up. It seems to me like that's a spot for some reason. But the large orders aren't reacting to it. This is very interesting. Do you see how clearly that when we were at the bottom, that the big orders reacted to it? But at 127, everybody else reacted to that. Here we are. Here we're at 29. Not to hate to the bros on other platforms. I just don't want my chat clogged with if the bot is going to repeat itself. Okay, well, he might be, because we just turned it on today, maybe the bot is having a little bit of trouble. So let's, we'll see how it goes. When we did it before, we only did it for like a day, and you guys were like, oh, this is so awful. So I think that maybe we should keep it on. And the main thing that I want to have here is, there are some guys that are there on Discord and don't necessarily listen on the YouTube, but I think would still like to talk to you guys. So that's kind of why I thought it would be worthwhile to turn it back on again. But like I said, let's just give it 3 days, and then if we still hate it, I don't like that it's repeating stuff over and over again. That's for sure. Check out lizard indicators. Yes, he has it. Good job. Thank you for posting that, John. Okay, so they touched the low and they didn't go. There was a few offers that pulled there, though. And we pulled back. I really like this because look at it compared now to this jigsaw histogram. So the jigsaw histogram, you can definitely see the bids stacking up, but it's like all of a sudden it just goes down to here. And on this one, I can see very clearly, okay, once it stepped down there, all of the big boys came back in. His one-time subscription fee is well worth the point. How much is the Lizard Indicator's subscription fee? I thought it was pretty hefty. Is it $350? Is it the $350 that he's talking about? I don't know. Oh yeah, so I forgot. I want to see the consumer banking business. FIC was below expectations. That's not good. But they've divested themselves from that significantly, so maybe it's not a big deal anymore. They're the most dependent on trading, that's for sure. I don't see anything about their Marcus business here in this CNBC report. So we'll see where they're at. I hope that this really bumps them up. So they pushed a new low there. They pushed a new low, but it's not. I'm not getting any clear stuff. It's just volume. Look at the cumulative delta on it. It's just down the whole way. I guess if it's market orders pushing it, then we're likely to see. Okay, so there was some big bids right there. some big bids, and now it's kind of flipping again. So we skipped up 2 ticks, pulled back 1. I wonder, is this going to continue to move up a bit? Okay, downside target hit 21 in ZB. Did not see that. Alligator is pointing out that the 5-year is not moving very much, and neither are the spreads. So he's warning of a possible reversal. Now we're forming a zipper here. That's interesting. I think they trapped him there. That refreshed at 29 a couple of times, and they weren't able to hold it, were they? And now he's holding it on top of him, like trying to push him into a new low. Offer definitely isn't shy at the low, yeah. Well, when we look here at the Vista chart, I don't know, it doesn't really show any like significant stacking. So there they are hitting into 28.5, and now I'm seeing something again. I should put timestamps on these. 6:46 on the low retest. There's iceberging at 28.5. And so this one is interesting because there is quite a bit more stacking and pulling on the bid and the offer. The offer pulled there though. There's a tick up. They might have some people trapped there. Like, I think if you're the big guy, oh, I guess not. I was gonna say, if you're the big guy, maybe you put an iceberg at 29 and see if they hit into it, and if you can push it up one more, then they're definitely trapped. But he didn't. They didn't do that at all. It's a little confusing reading the restream bot. Well, so the problem that I'm seeing right now is that the conversation that they're having in the Discord channel is different from the conversation that you have in YouTube, right? And then there's our one guy on Twitch that was talking about some token sell that they did. I haven't entered yet, still flat. I didn't want to get in before the news. Yeah, and you usually wait like 15 minutes till after, right? So now it's like, if you're going to get good risk reward, the only trade that you can take is long. And do you really want to take long? That one's questionable. It is doing fishy stuff right here, though. Okay, so that one was a little different. Sorry, the dogs can hear my wife possibly walking down the stairs soon because she's got to go to work early. Yeah, that move lower was a little unusual, wasn't it? Let's zoom in on that. Try and figure out what's going on. So right there was to tick up. There was no follow through on it, and then they pushed lower.
Block sell.
Wow. So there's a block sell. Alligator says, my bad, wrong reading of this action. Totally wrong. That was really, wow. 26.5. Some big reloading on the offer. The only time you use 133 tick charges before key releases, try it. You'll see a reason to the volatility inside of emit. Ah, that's interesting. Well, now we're below yesterday's low. They're not below the 12th low, but that's not too far off. Seems like market orders are dominant. Here at 26.5, there was quite a bit of rebalancing. Greg says, "Hi Seth, just too many styles being thrown at you." Oh man, those dogs, they really want it. They really want to yap. Hold on a second. So I don't know how they got this, but she taught them to bark when they want to go outside, and so when she wakes up or they're ready to open up the door, they just go crazy. Anyways, so Greg, you bring up an interesting point, and I have to admit that when we're streaming and there's so many people giving advice and stuff, and I love the advice, so don't anybody ever, stop posting stuff, because even if it's not useful to me, it's going to be useful to somebody else. And I think in this particular case, live action isn't really talking to me; he's talking to other people, right? But I have my thing, and I've been pretty consistent about sticking with it, and we're fiddling around the edges, but I think the core of my strategy has been, pretty consistent, I guess. So I don't think it's a huge issue. There is this sort of a thing when I do need to change some things, it can be hard because there's a lot of different avenues that we can take, but you know, you can only do so much at a time anyways. So I'm kind of doing this thing with my indicator for now. That's our focus for the next 2 weeks. I was watching, you know, Live Action gave us this video to watch, and I found that video really interesting. Although I'm not sure, because we were talking about what happens when the volume point of control moves. And I thought that I was watching the video because of that, but he didn't say anything about that sort of a thing. But he gave some interesting order flow kind of signals and reading and stuff. Eric says I tape read the same way that you do. Oh, yeah. I mean, that's one of the main reasons I do this, because I feel like that there's just not very good chat out there for, you know, for tape reading, where we're just focused on one instrument and we're on that one style and we're just talking about that one thing, right? Anyways, that guy though, he did bring out a bunch of things that were really interesting. One thing that was really interesting to this video that we watched the other day, it's about BLB Capital. You can search for it. He did a chat with traders. Is he said that he uses 2 accounts and washes them against each other. So he'll take a long position in one, and then when it's going to revert a little bit, he'll use the other account to trade the pullback. And they asked him, well, why do you do that? And he said, well, because here, if you want to go over, you know, I can sell over here. Whereas over here, if I want to be short, I have to sell X contracts and then, you know, that takes time and this and that. And I'm like, it doesn't matter, because you still have an aggregate position across the 2 instruments, right? Maybe it just makes it easier for you to track them. But I was kind of wondering, I was like, well, maybe you do it because it makes you harder to track, you know, it makes you harder for algorithms to hunt or something like that. Ooh, 26 big iceberg. And they just took that so fast. Really makes me want to take trades. Although, why is it we're pushing down so aggressively in Treasuries and the E-mini doesn't care? That's curious to me. Anyways, I thought that the wash trading thing was kind of interesting. And I kind of wonder if he's not given the whole story about why he does that. But then the other thing that I thought was interesting was that he was using the swing. He was relying on the swing a lot. And he was looking, in particular, sounded like he was looking at like how big each swing tends to be and what the standard deviation of them were. And I was like, well, I don't know if I have an indicator out there like that, but I could write something like that and it would be interesting to look at. And I'm wondering if maybe that is something that I can incorporate. Because when I'm looking at it, and you're not really seeing it today because it is a more active market, but when it was like a slow market like yesterday, there was something weird going on with big orders and everything at almost every turn, wasn't there? And so I've been thinking, you know, in the past, did you check him out on Twitter or his websites? So when I tried to find him on Twitter, I couldn't. I found an account, but he had never tweeted anything. And I went to his website and on my phone, and it was like blank. Here, I will show you. Let's try it. blbcap.com. Oh, here I can see there's a video. And then like that's it. I don't even know what doesn't even look like it's actually a real video. So it doesn't do anything. I might have something blocked. It might not be showing correctly there, but. So yeah, if you have a direct link to his Twitter, I'd appreciate it, because I wanted to follow him. He used to be very active a long time ago. Yeah, well, it certainly seemed like that was the case just from his interview, because he talked about arguing with people and stuff like that. And then I go and I look up what I believed was a Twitter account, and it was like, weren't following anybody, had never said anything. So I don't know if he just went in and deleted his tweets or what, but while there was some decent iceberging in there and there are some bids showing up, it appears to me like we're in a rebalancing area for sure. And slowing down, there might be a bit of a pullback on this one. Although, how can you take it? It's not. That's the guru cycle, active for a few years and one day gone. Yeah, and I wonder, when I look at that, I'm like, so is that because he became so successful that he felt like he couldn't share what he was doing anymore because it was hurting his edge or something like that? Or was it the opposite, that he started doing poorly and was ashamed and didn't want to post anymore or something like that? Or maybe it was just that social media was too distracting, and a lot of people are doing that. Stepping up to 27 here. That big offer's not really stepping out of the way. Near the end, I think he got tired of people not doing their own homework since he laid it out simply. I gotcha. Yeah, well, and the thing that was so interesting about it was that his description of some very specific scenarios were a little complicated, and I had to listen to a bunch of times. Wow. So they were buying up into that, and then a little bit of iceberging, and then somebody smacked it back down 26.5. I get that. Teaching people is distraction and often an uphill battle. He mentioned that a lot. Yeah. Anyways, but then some of his descriptions were really simple. Like he was saying, I would buy in on a pullback because I see increasing bids. Which is like, oh, okay. It's easier to teach my wife, who's never been sat at a terminal in her life, about trading than is someone who's been doing it for a year. But yeah, I mean, the thing that he was doing was really simple. It was like he was reading order flow, and then he was using the swings to determine, when he should take it. And he was trying to play literally every swing. That was the shocking thing to me. I mean, that's a lot of trades. But that's what he was doing, and it sounded like he was very successful at it too. But when I looked at that, a kind of a light went off in my head. Because one of the things that you guys have told me, I think this is something that like Smash the Bid says a lot, is like, you're trying to take too big of a time frame. And the response to that has always been, well, yeah, but like if I take a trade and I'm risking 2, and I'm only getting 2 out of it, that's like not good risk reward. Like I should be getting 3 or 4. And then when it gets to 3 or 4, how do I know that that's actually it and I should take it off or whatever like that, But now I'm thinking, well, I'm getting something that gives me enough indicators that maybe I can take trades maybe I can trade that short of a time frame. Maybe what I should be doing is I'll take the same kind of trades that I have been trying to avoid the consolidation areas until like I'm seeing bids or offers push it out. But take those same trades, and then if I see one of these big orders move in the book that has been indicating possible reversals, then you take it off. And you use the swing to give yourself a better idea about how far it can potentially go. And you only take one swing. So if it swings back up the other way, then you held it too long. And then I would be truly scalping instead of, scalping them and then trying to hold them as long as I can. Maybe that's a problem. And I, when I was going through it and thinking about some of the math I've done in the past, I'm like, well, okay, some of those minus ones might be plus twos and might actually increase my MFE. Or at least increase my average profit. This is pretty relentless selling, guys. Like, I am not seeing the kind of signals that we've been seeing in the past few days. So this is good to know. And I should have expected it, but I didn't. But it seems to me that watching large orders like that is not that helpful in a strong trend because it's not giving us a lot of signals. I think normally I would just be selling it here and just be taking the trend. And probably would do well just watching where the reloading is and trading in the direction of the trend. Now, how to know that it was going to trend this much, I'm not so sure, but I'm still confused by the E-mini doing nothing. Yesterday's low is the only other downside reference point I have for now. Oof. Now I got more. Well, so 127 was a key spot, right? Now that 127 is not a thing anymore. If we go back further over here, show you down in the lower right here. Okay, remember we were here at 127. Here's the 127 many times, right? That was a balance area for a couple of weeks, in fact. 2 weeks. And when they were pushing through it, you got on the downside 126.21 half. So we haven't quite touched that downside. And then beyond that is 16. So let's mark that. X and 16 is a low. Now also there is 20 is showing up on the DOM. 18, 16. Right now they're acting like that they're going to go through this whole thing. Are they? And this is where it gets back into really interesting. Okay, so now we are getting another signal. At low of day, offers start stacking. Iceberg absorbs at 250. Is this could possibly trap people, but maybe it's a push lower. We've got 21 ticks in ZB without a pullback at all. Geez, yeah. But you see that I really think that some big buyers tried buying it at like 28 and really screwed up, I think is what happened. Somebody bought it and then somebody else decided to puke and then they all puked and then it just kind of slid further. Now I am seeing, okay. There's a lot of bid stacking here at this location. My back is all messed up. Well, now the offer is going to reload on them too. Is going to iceberg on them too, it looks like. And it's curious, I'm not seeing anything incredibly significant in the 5-year. Other than that, there's a pretty good, pretty good stack of bids at the low of the day at 12. Well, just beyond the low of the day at 12. It is really weird how narrow ES is relative to Treasuries, right? And there was a lot of earnings before the bell too, right? I'm not sure what's going on. Okay, so they did take it at 25.5. They're going to start hitting into 26. Tons of buys. Well, there was tons of everything down there, really. You think about it. 5 block buys in a row. In ZB. Ooh, yeah, look at that. I can see that. They just took it in chunks. Okay, so here's where they're going to take it again. Are we going to get the same thing that happened to us before? They're going to puke lower? She's hungry? I don't know. This is a little interesting. ZB came right back down very easily. They're all set up too. Like look at that. Okay, so now ZB is in line 2. It's not touching the new low, but I think at least one person is going to take it, right? There was a lot of orders taken there at the 26 area. They're trapped. I think the guys at 25 are trapped. Nope. Wishy-washy. I feel wishy-washy. I think whichever way this thing ends up resolving, it's going to be pretty spectacular, don't you think? Lots of consolidation here. Yeah, we got some news coming up here, folks. We've got the capacity utilization rate. We're expecting a reading of 78.2, and the industrial production month over month, we're expecting a reading of spot 1. So maybe all of that ruckus was just balancing before the news. Yeah, June industrial production. There's a boat in front of the White House. What? Okay. Waiting for the news. June factory output increases spot 4% versus an expected spot 3. And the thing that I have says that we were expecting spot 1 and we got 0. And the utilization rate 77 spot 9 versus 78 spot 2. Okay, so let's come back to my notes here. Was that before the news or after? Basically right on the news. Essentially, they stacked on and moved up. Perhaps the reason that the E-mini is not moving is because the economy is good, but interest rates are going to be higher, and so it balances itself out and doesn't go anywhere. Or maybe they're just waiting for the open and they're going to buy this. I don't know. I need to stretch my back out. Hold on. Or maybe they're waiting for the Fed speakers to finish. Yeah, but that doesn't happen until much later in the day. I think that they're going to want to trade the news that's happening right now. While you are getting some bid stacking and everything, so about actually equal stacking on both of these. There was certainly more on the offers here when we were way up here. So that's interesting. And what about the overall? Still looks really heavy to me. There's some consolidation here. What's your indicator says? I hope you look into it and find some buy into it. You saying you hope that that this is a buy signal? I think I remember them saying financials beat due to tax breaks, but not revenue. Well, yeah, well, so I am seeing some stuff that the tax breaks help them, but like for Goldman Sachs, a lot of their key business points, particularly investment banking and trading, did better than expected. Their FIC is still doing poorly though, which is really interesting because it's not like FIC has been awful. Okay, now they've finally come back over it. ZF missed by S2 by 1 tick. It seems like it's mostly the large bids holding up the market, and not the volume. And up until now, the volume has been really dominant. This is the first time that we've seen the resting orders push it. I don't know if that's bullish or what. I'm just looking at it right now and I'm like, well, the pullback is not incredibly inspiring, but maybe it surprises us here after 26.5, you know? Well, and that's a lot of volume at 26.5. I think maybe they're going to move the point of control here first. Or are they going to pull back and go back to 30.5? Could do that too. The book is blue over here. Is it blue in the 10? Yeah, it is. It's blue in the 10. You know, I was kind of wondering actually. You know, well, I'm thinking about it. If I get here to the auction Vista and I look at like depth imbalance, what if I tell it to not show imbalance? I think, I mean, I kind of like seeing the imbalance, but I kind of like seeing that too. Although I guess when I look at that, it doesn't really tell me a whole lot, does it? When I see it like that. Same with the flip. Like, I wonder, should I be looking bigger on the flip? Instead of the first 5, I should be looking at the first 10. Well, let's try it and see what happens. Anyways. Waiting on a dead cat bounce. Well, I think that was the dead cat bounce, to be honest. So I'm seeing something going on right here, 26.5. A lot of interest. You can see it's a little bit more changes on the ask than on the bid. So that might be your sell. Bears use it to sell more at each level. This move down looks pretty solid. Pullback looks over at 27. So the alligator. I think that spike in orders there is significant. That's one of the highest that we've seen today. If it continues through, then that'll be a really interesting, because almost every time that I've ever seen a spike on that particular histogram, it reverses. There's some excursion, of course, but it almost always eventually reverses. Well, I'm just looking at the Restream bot here in YouTube, and it seems like it's doing everything correctly now. I don't know, folks. YouTube might not be giving me accurate stats here. Yeah, there we go. And now at 27, it's like almost completely dead. I mean, this was the previous low. It was a good sell. You're seeing increased interest here. You could have potentially gotten filled at 27 here. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not supposed to be taking trades or anything, but I feel like that you could sell 27. But let's not marry ourselves to anything, right? It looks like a short to me. Okay, so you definitely would be filled at 27 now. Do they see us on Twitch? Yes, they do. Yep, see right there. If I pull up Twitch. By the way, I should turn that off because there you are. It's already repasted what you posted there. So that's good. I think that'd be useful because there are some advantages to watching it on Twitch. It is a little bit faster. So with that, it'll probably encourage more people to watch on Twitch, and it just kind of accumulates. Because up until now, for some reason we seem to hold a pretty consistent audience on YouTube, but never on Twitch. But that might also just be the demographics. Wrong says, hi, alligator. Now, the flip side of that is that I don't see the robot in the interest rates channel. You guys can totally see everything that they're saying, but I'm not seeing it pasted in interest rates. Maybe I banned it from posting in interest rates. What did I do? Let me look. Permissions. I can see it on the stream channel. Here it is in the stream channel. But I don't see it pasting it into interest rates, which was the whole problem in the first place, which I find interesting. But okay, here's the equities open. I suppose that a short at 27 wouldn't make sense given the time frame, huh? And the E-mini open is unclear too. I thought that they were going to come out and it was just going to be like, boom, and everybody would know which way it's going. But they're actually selling this in ES. First impulse is a sell. I'm going to say it's a moderate sell. Let's fix that and make sure we got tweet deck up. Treasury Secretary issued a warning as David Marcus, Libra's co-creator, is set to defend the planned digital coin in front of Congress. Cash freight index negative for 7th month. Our country is free, beautiful, and very successful. If you hate our country or if you're not happy here, you can leave. Is Donald Trump. Tell you what. Now that whole situation is, talk about a dumpster fire, man. I don't think I've ever, every time that I feel like, ooh, Reddit and social media seems like super triggered about something. And then it's like the next time they always outdo themselves. Like the hysteria out there over is Donald Trump racist and it's inappropriate to say these things and stuff like that is just like totally perplexing to me. Because like, honestly, think about it. What Republican hasn't told the Democrat that you can just leave? Everybody said that before. And that Ilhan Omar is from Somalia, has nothing to do with it because she says all this stuff all the time. It's just crazy to me that this is like considered a huge deal by these people. Live action says over nothing, right? It is kind of like over nothing. But like I'm seeing now, it looks like Nancy Pelosi is going to try and have a resolution in Congress over it. I feel like this is a really real tactical blunder because they're thinking, oh, well, we can put Republicans on it, and whether or not they said yes or no on the resolution, I don't think that anybody's going to care. But somebody seems to be off on the demographics of this, because the demographics are that people in the Midwestern states that the Democrats need to attract in order to win in the Electoral College do not like Omar. That's just the long and short of it. So I think this is a tactical blunder, but we'll see what happens. I'm trying to pull myself away because I noticed myself yesterday. Like, I just wanted to read more about it. I wanted to see what the next thing was going to happen. I wanted to see people put more arguments out there. I wanted to see the arguments that liberal people were putting out there, like, met and responded to, which I wasn't seeing a whole lot of back and forth amongst people. It was just all like echo chamber stuff. And then it was kind of like hit me. That was like, oh no, this is the social media echo chamber where we're getting pulled into the the dopamine cycle from the controversy. So probably it's better to just pull back and not look at it. If you don't like Seth, well, you can leave. Oops, did I? Well, like here's the thing. Here's the thing that I think is so funny about it is like really think about it. What if I decided I'm just not doing so well, so I go and I join somebody else's stream, and then I see them doing something that I don't agree with, and so I tell them to stop doing it. And maybe it's a good idea, maybe it's a bad idea. I don't know. Maybe it'd be something like, oh, you should have chased that. That would be the sort of dumb thing that I would do, right? So try and chase an up move. Okay, but let's just say that that's what I do, right? How would the person in the stream respond? Oh, it's the same way that I respond. As hey, if you're so smart, then why aren't you profitable? Or can you show us that you are? Like, put up or shut up. And if you're not profitable, then maybe you should get yourself to a good spot, a profitable spot first, before you criticize the way that somebody else does something. Yeah, over here it's a different thing because I'm mostly break even, right? So you guys can say almost anything you want. But if I went to somebody else's stream, it would be like, hey, Seth, maybe you should go and be profitable first before you criticize how we do things, right? That's what they would say. It wouldn't be racist, right? Because I'm white, obviously, it wouldn't be racist. But you get what I'm saying? It's just like, that's just the banter. Like, what Republican hasn't told a Democrat that if they don't like America, they can move? Literally every argument between Republicans and Democrats ends that way. And this is supposed to be this big controversial thing. It's kind of silly, I think. Anyways, we'll give it a week and see what the polls say. I don't think that it's necessarily good for Democrats. You'll probably get some bump in polls. You'll probably show Donald Trump's favorables declining and everything because, you get all of the liberal triggering, but then you'll see that the Republican base will consolidate and will be more energized. And in the end, it's better for him. Republicans can do it. Anyone can do it, just not the president of the United States, in my opinion, says Life of a Day Trader. Well, you bring up a really interesting point, Life of a Day Trader. But I'm not sure if I agree with you or not. I'm not going to say I disagree with you, but I'm not sure. Because to me, it's kind of like, I feel like that we put the president up on a pedestal and that it's a negative thing. Like, we expect them to be perfect. And then every time that you see something that you don't like, it's like a big deal. You know what I mean? Why can't the president say the same things that everyday people say? I don't know. And if it's not okay for the president to say, then maybe everyday people shouldn't be saying it. You know what I mean? Times told the Squad people disagree not because of race. Did the Times said that, huh? Because everywhere that I'm seeing, it's like, oh, this is so racist to tell her that. Some people, the thing that's funny is some people, I know this is going to sound ridiculous, but I have literally seen this. Some people think that Donald Trump was implying that she should be deported, that we should expel her from the country forcibly. That's not what it is. It's banter, right? It's like, well, if you can do such a good job, then why don't you go back there where you came from and do a good job there, and then you can come back and tell us how to do things. But right now, we have absolutely no reason to believe that any of your policies are good because they haven't been effective. Did you know? Here's another crazy thing. Just to keep going, because I don't know what to think about this. Well, no, wait. We need to take some notes first. It was push up, increase interest at 27, but not in big orders. Another spike in interest. We keep moving up. So So there was the interest at 27. We've now touched 28. So we need to keep track of how far would this go. The most powerful office in the world needs to be held at the highest standard, as every world has power to affect lives or start wars. No, but that's my whole point. Let me back up for a second. Let me introduce a new concept to you. I call this concept the prime evil. This is just my words. I know that can mean other things to other people, like Diablo and all that nonsense, but this is my definition of the prime evil. When I look at countries like, for instance, communist Russia, and what was so wrong with communist Russia? Because people always say, like there's this argument that being communist is more moral than being racist, because communists at least have good intentions. And I'm not so sure that that's true, because in communism, it's not like that people didn't have motivation to do things. Like, the thing that was really sad in communism was that there was a lot of people that worked really, really hard and still nothing got done. And very often the reason that nothing got done, like if you look at the Russian space shuttle program, for instance, I think is a really good example. There's this one guy that was in charge of the shuttle program, and he was the guy that got Sputnik in and did all this stuff. He was amazing. Okay. And then later on, when they got to the space shuttle, they had to cut down on costs, and they were using other people, and there's all this bureaucracy involved, and all of a sudden, everything was just going down the tube, and they never got to the moon, essentially, is what I'm talking about, right? And it was all because of the bureaucracy and stuff. It seems to me that the problem with communism isn't that it demotivates people per se. I think that the problem with communism is that it centralizes power in the hands of very few. And that, to me, is the prime evil. The prime evil is centralizing power and forcing other people to do things. Right? Any market or thing, so I should try and tie it back into markets. I think that if you have one player that can completely dominate the market, like has a corner on the market, that's not a good thing. The more that the power is distributed equally, the better, the more efficient of a market you're going to have, is what I think. Right? So going back to the original question, which was of the president, so we're sitting down and saying every tiny little thing that he says can affect the world. That sounds like an awful lot of power to give to any one person. And that is the degree of power where every little thing that you can say can affect the world is not some power that we should give to some mortal. So maybe we should stop saying that the president should be perfect. Maybe we should accept that presidents say dumb things sometimes. You know what I mean? So I think that if it's okay for me to say, it should be okay for him to say. That applies to everyone in Congress too, then that would be a real disaster, right? So this is interesting. That's what's going on here, because we had the news, and since then we've retraced, but not an incredible amount of behavior from the big orders, but some spiking. And they spiked at 27, and they're going through it to 28.5. Does it reverse still? Because it could still be like it goes through and then it comes back down. Ideally, it should be applied to everyone. Everything starts from the top, though. Okay. So, but then that comes back to the thing. So then, is it inherently wrong to tell somebody that if you don't like the country, then you should leave? because to me, it's not an offensive thing. I think it's a very logical way of looking at the world, is to say you should go and live in a place that matches what you think a country should be. And if you don't think that that's America, then you should go and live in a country that it is like that, like Denmark or Canada or something, or vice versa. If you want to change something, you should be able to show us instances where it worked. Did you know that Ilhan Omar's father actually had worked in the communist government in Somalia? So I saw this story the other day. I don't know if I completely believe it because it's Gateway Pundit and sometimes they post dumb stuff, but they were saying that her father is here in the United States, and he shouldn't be, because he was involved in the communist government and law would prevent him from becoming from immigrating. And that there are a number of people that were actually guilty of war crimes in Somalia and that are living in the United States. And this guy is like an Uber driver or something like that. It just seems to me like there's a lot of people out there saying, oh, we should try X thing. And every place that I look at that does X thing isn't as successful as the United States is. And frankly, it's kind of like, the United States' whole thing is that we don't do that. Hey, the natives asked you to leave. What are you still doing here? That's a good point. Well, I mean, I don't think that's... So this is one of the contradictory arguments that I think is so interesting that people always bring up, because it's contradictory, right? So if the natives asked us to leave and we should have left, but we didn't, then isn't that just like a good reason for people that, are concerned about their country being taken away from them? Isn't that just all the more reason for them to be concerned? Because that's what happened to the natives. I heard Kamala Harris past relatives owned Irish slaves. I read that too. What's scarier? Is she won her vote into office that Ilhan did, or who are you talking about, Ilhan? Because I'm surprised that she got into office. Personally, I don't think that if everybody had known all of the things that we do about her now, that she would have. It's kind of one of those things. And now once you're in there, you have that incumbent advantage and everything. I don't know if they'll ever get rid of her. Yeah, he's talking about Omar. I think that they could get rid of AOC, but Omar, I'm not so sure. It's interesting. Okay, so it did stop. I think. This is curious. But you definitely can't take it like right when the signal happens. It always goes through it a little bit. What happened to Native Americans is the best argument against open borders, right? Well, and this is my thing, is in my opinion, it is immoral to engineer a demographic change in a country against the people's will. Like, that's what I think is just so crazy about this, is that we've had laws in place in the United States for almost 100 years now. They made this decision a long time ago that we were going to change the way that immigration was done, and that there was a limit on it. We were going to be very generous, but that there was still a limit. And they are now intentionally, usurping those laws, and they're intentionally trying to change the demographics. And I think that when you do that, you're undermining the whole You're undermining all democracy. Well, it's just like in Bitcoin when you come in and you just print Tether. There is tremendous hatred in the Bitcoin community for Bitcoin Cash, right? And the market absolutely hates it. The Tether comes out and they will buy Bitcoin to the moon, and Bitcoin Cash doesn't move because the Tether won't touch it. So they are distorting the market by printing their Tether. And it's the same thing. They're distorting democracy now by importing voters. It is not moral. It is not right. It is doing that is, in my opinion, on the same level of immorality as like a Holocaust. It's not okay to me. Mm-hmm. Free speech and tweets will continue. President, just don't yell fire. You might get impeached. Well, so then this was the other thing, and I was about to get to this, and then I got off on a tangent. But then the thing that I think is so funny was all of this stuff happened, and then the Democrats thought it was a good idea to put these four out in front of the news cameras. Like, okay, they've said dumb things before. Like think about Ilhan. Let's look at it from this perspective. This is what really happened with Ilhan. She came out, she said a bunch of anti-Semitic things that were very damaging to the Democratic Party. And Nancy came up to her and said, hey, you know what, Ilhan? You should shut up. And she did. She shut up. We didn't hear about Ilhan at all until Donald Trump brought her back up into the spotlight. And he probably did that intentionally because the polls show that she is absolutely toxic to the voters that are going to determine the next election. And then they say, well, we know that she's said dumb things in the past and that people don't like her, but we should put her out in front of a news camera. And what does she do? They say, will you condemn ISIS? And she refuses to do it. Are you kidding me? Now, I'm not saying that she supports ISIS. Obviously, it's a gaffe. But like, you know, if you ask Donald Trump that question, he's failed that question a few times. But I think that the right way you say that is you say, of course not. That is an offensive question, right? But she refused to say, of course not. Like, man, how dumb can you be? I love how the media calls them the squad. It's 300% cringe. Yeah. Well, it's like what are the Republicans are calling them, the four morons of the apocalypse or something. It's just the thing that's so funny. Like, you go and you watch their news conference, and they're saying, you know, Donald Trump is doing this on purpose. Don't fall for the bait. Okay, then why are you holding the news conference? Right? Doesn't holding the news conference basically mean that you've fallen for the bait? It's like they know that what they're doing is bad, that what they're doing is not good for them electorally, and they can't help it. We need a legit third party. Well, you know what? Life of a day trader, I agree with you in some respect. I like the two-party system. I do. I think that having two parties that are just always neck and neck, and I think that is ultimately good. Because, like I said, the prime evil is centralization of power. If you get one party that is completely in control of everything and controls everything, that's evil. That's going to lead to bad things, right? So, you know, having two parties is good, but there are some real problems with the current parties, and sometimes you got to wonder if it's possible to actually fix them internally. So I don't think that we'd ever get an actual third party, but could something happen like the Democrat Party dies and something else rises to replace it, that could happen. And I think that would be okay. All right, so they touched 26.5 and there was an iceberg. Bernie. When it comes to race, they can't help it. They're terrified of losing a tiny percentage of the black vote. Yeah. Well, this is another thing that I don't understand was they're saying, because they're saying he's only saying this because she is black. And I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure he's saying it because she says anti-American things. And they're like, well, then how come he did it to Colin Kaepernick? Because he said anti-American things too. But like when I look at it, black people are some of the most patriotic people that I know. They're totally all in on America. I think most of them. There's certainly some super left-wing lunatics out there, but most of them, I don't think it has anything to do with race. And somebody was saying, well, how come he hasn't told Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren to go back to where they came from? Well, there in that tweet just there, he said, our country is free, beautiful, and very successful. If you hate our country or if you are not happy here, you can leave. So if to any of those people, if Bernie, Elizabeth Warren, if any of them are unhappy, I think he is telling them to leave. But then, why doesn't he call them out by name? Well, you know what? It's very early in the campaign season. Just wait. Just wait, we'll see. Okay, so that trade, I think I should point out, right, I should update my notes here. We'll keep it before reversing to an iceberg at 4. Large bids showed up there to stop it as well. Okay. Far leftivism is primarily a white phenomenon. You're right. What the Dems don't get and why Trump has more support of Latinos than they can explain is that the South American countries don't get along. They hate each other. From my experience living amongst them. Well, it's not even like a country versus country sort of a thing. It's like the group of people that are crossing the border. Like if you go to Mexico and you talk to a Mexican nationalist, they hate those people that are coming across the border. They're saying, yeah, you really don't want those people in your country because they're the lowest people in our country. That's what they think. Other people's words. When I was a Spanish missionary, the most great, because all of you would have a church congregation that was all Spanish speaking, and it was usually small. It was a branch. And so a lot of the leadership were white guys that had gone on missions to Hispanic areas. I mean, they want to have all, native Spanish speakers if they can, but there's just not enough of them. So you kind of have, and, the white people would never say anything awful. Like one of the things that was always funny to us was that you had to tell the Spanish speaking people, if you were doing like a baptism, for instance, you had to give them a time that was almost an hour early or they wouldn't show up on time. And they did that, but they would never say, oh, these people are bad with time or anything that could ever possibly be construed as possibly racist. But then I would go and I would talk to somebody like for instance, a guy that used to be a stake president, and he was native Spanish speaker, and he had lived in the United States for I think 30 or 40 years, and he was a legal citizen, and he just said the most awful things about these people. He said that they were lazy and awful and disloyal and all of these things. They don't like each other. And yeah, when you look at the Hispanics that are legal immigrants, most of them are a little mad that people are you know, skipping the line and didn't have to naturalize the way that they did. And then Uzi says far leftism is a primarily white phenomenon. Well, yeah, we've been over that one for sure. But that's kind of the weird thing, is that they're coming out and they're saying, Donald Trump says this is racist. And it's like, well, that plays really well to, other far left people, but it doesn't, I don't think it plays very well to the people that Democrats need to win. So now that we got this big order at 27, it's just sitting here. If we had said we had taken a trade at 28.5 and then it came down to 26.5, I think that you have to take it off, right? Even though I think there's a possibility of continuation. Right? Like, that's a signal. And that's a signal. So maybe you get 4 from it. But then when we look at it, the swing is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So maybe you could hold it because of that. And I have to look at the swing thing and figure out if we should incorporate that, but not now. Focus on this for now. Is he? Oh man, I feel like I've already said too much about this, but your average Mexican immigrant in America may hang a Mexican flag from their rearview mirror or wear a Mexican flag T-shirt. A white leftist will firebomb an ICE detention facility and raise a Mexican flag in front of it. I see the USD JPY rising more today. Bonds will drop more, maybe. Well, they did drop quite a bit. I can never tell with currencies, man. I always just look at it as like, if the currency is moving, the treasury can move on little volume. That's the big takeaway that I take from that correlation. So they stick to that correlation like a glue. And if people miss it, then they just miss it. And it can just tick up there on no volume because of the correlation. And then everybody's stuck. So I think that's the way you got to watch that one. Similarly, when you look at the E-mini, sometimes they are taking a trade in the treasury based on something happening in the E-mini, and then they're always disappointed. So sometimes you get that order flow you have to ignore too. Or not even ignore it. I guess it's the opposite side of the scale, right? That's like some order flow, they're betting on the E-mini. If the E-mini doesn't go the way that they want it to, then it's going to reverse, so you have to ignore that order flow. Whereas with the JPY, you could get a place where probably there should be order flow, but because the currency moved, people already missed the boat. Yeah. There could be more to it than that, but that's my take. Well, it seems like that if you had happened to have caught 28.5, that was the spot to do it. To take it off was at 26.5. You got 5 on it. It's really, actually, when you think about it, it's actually still quite slow and range bound. One thing that irks me is flag burners. So many have respected the flag. Many love this country. Many want to be here and die for it. But then, yeah, there's more. There's more to a sentence. It always cuts. I hate that YouTube limits how long of a comment you guys can put in. Chart-based analyses are 50-50. Well, they're pushing back up here again. Although it's kind of doing you random. So this to me is kind of like, okay, they stopped. There's a zipper. It fell out of the zipper, false breakout, and then higher. And they pushed that thing again, and now it's stepping back. This looks like incredibly random order flow to me. Maybe there's something in the tick by tick that I'm not paying enough attention to see because I'm yapping too much or something, but it seems random to me. Maybe it gets 40-60, but still. The other thing is, I don't know if we really saw, well, there was that big peak, but notice here, so maybe this is what we should be seeing. So here was this peak right here. Okay, cool. But compare this area to this area. There's more bid interest there. Even after the pullback, more bid interest than there was down at this low right here. And offer interest, again, even the same thing here. Here's the offers. And now it's a little bit less. So it appears that the balance in the market has changed. Maybe we've put in a low for the day and they might want to push up a little bit. But who knows? That big peak in interest at 28 it kind of make me worry about trading it here. I don't know. Bots wants the IB midpoint. You know what? That actually would be a good. That would be 31. That would be 31 in the 10-year. In all honesty, it could be really hard to predict where this would go and stop. So let's see if they turn here. If we get another aberration? Right now, though, it's kind of seeming to me like a lot of this stuff, you still got to see it, but it's not nearly as influential on a really on good action. I feel like now that we got all that Donald Trump news out of our systems, that nobody has anything left to say. You're just left stewing thinking about that. And like, I want to say something more about it, but what more can you say? The whole thing is just kind of crazy to me. Okay. I'm wondering now, maybe there has been some stuff, but it hasn't been in the 10-year. The 5-year didn't break out and make a new high there. The 30-year did. Knob seems to be flattening. FYT, it's unclear. 2 and 10 definitely steepened. Oh, wait. He's saying something else. Those tweets were not racist. I don't have a racist bone in my body. The so-called vote to be taken is a Democrat con game. Republicans should not show weakness and fall into their trap. This should be a vote on the filthy language, statements, and lies told by the Democrat congressmen who I truly believe, based on their actions, hate our country. Get a list of the horrible things they have said. Omar is polling at 8%, Cortez at 21%. Nancy Pelosi tried to push them anyway, but now they are forever wedded to the Democrat Party. See you in 2020. You know, the thing that is, he needs to let it go. Well, I think, you know, for all of the people are always saying 3D chess and this sort of a thing. And other people have always said, oh, he's just impulsive and he's just doing things and he doesn't know what he's doing. But I think that in this case, he very clearly was trying to pull off some sort of political strategy. And now that he's pulled it off, he's kind of like gloating about it. You know, I find that kind of interesting. Do you see what I'm saying? Kind of changes my opinion on, you know, how intentional maybe some past things were. I think that in the past, it wasn't, you know, the 3D chess. It was just, that's just the plane that he works in, and it's not some sort of super brilliant tactical move. That's just instinct to him. This was a tactical move. Well, here at 27.5, I do see a little bit of bid activity. I did see a little bit of reason for them to have stopped at 28. So maybe a little bit of a reason for them to have stopped at 27.5 too. Yep, he saw the Dems infighting and wanted to bring them back together so the squad can be associated with the broader Democratic Party. Right. Well, it's not even that. It's like he wants to keep them at the forefront, but it doesn't unify the party necessarily. Because even if they can turn around and all attack the president right now, they still have this issue where, you know, these prominent congresswomen are being anti-Semitic and stuff. Domino's Pizza seeing labor cost pressures in company stores. It kind of seems to me like all of the data that we've gotten this month is not in favor of a rate cut. Am I crazy? So they are pulling back more. I'm also wonder, pull this up, where are they at? Some of these bids are really far out there. Some of these asks are really close. At 28.5. Melania, honey, please put down your phone to the Donald. Wait, I'm winning this chat room. At times he's above their heads and gets criticism out of the misunderstanding. Well, I'm not convinced that he's entirely a good communicator. I think that a lot of the time he is like in full ADHD mode and the words are just coming out and nobody really has a clue what he's saying. I mean, I'll do that sometimes. It's just a thing, like you get talking, you enjoy talking so much, you just keep going. John pointing out that it's time for the counter trend period. Now it's interesting that spike and stuff that happened at 28 when we were moving up before we pulled back, there was more orders placed there than anywhere else. It scares everyone, but the good thing is it keeps our opponents on their heels. I don't know. I mean, the thing is I think that the Democrats are making a really big blunder here, but it's not a positive thing in terms of like actually having improvement in or progress in domestic policy. You know what I mean? But it could be a long-term thing. I kind of wonder. Oh, okay, that was a good tick up. I wonder, let's say that Donald Trump wins the next election, okay? And then he's leaving, so it's 2024. Maybe Mike Pence is running. Maybe Ted Cruz is running. I don't know who would be running and who would be the front runners then in 2024. Might be some newer faces. It'd be interesting. But how does that affect the Democrat Party at that time? Because they are so driven completely at this time by Donald Trump. When he leaves, how do they get people to turn out? You know what I mean? Their party is going to have to make a pretty dramatic shift after Donald Trump is out of office, I think. And they've kind of put themselves into a dead end because I feel like that a lot of the people that are voting Democrat right now are doing it because they don't like Donald Trump and not necessarily because they believe in communism, right? So this goes back to something we talked about last week. What just happened there in the chart? Double top at 29, right? But I've done some back testing that says that doesn't mean a fucking thing. I wonder what the odds are in the offshore books on his reelection. Well, right now, on the predicted markets, it's definitely in his favor. But let's go and look and see if it changed. Next U.S. President, Trade 2020. So I see that he's at 46%. That's a little bit higher than it was a while ago. Let's go back to like a 30-day chart. Okay. So from the 14th to the 15th, he's lost 1 cent. And all of these other people. It's funny that Buttigieg is not on there. Warren should be neck and neck. Sanders much lower. Yang. Yang is so over. It's funny. There's the Andrew Yang supporters that just believe in him so much. So much. And he stands no chance. But they're betting on him. They're pushing him up above many other people that Pete Buttigieg has a better chance of becoming president than Andrew Yang. I think Pete Buttigieg should be. I think at this point, Pete might actually have a better chance than Bernie Sanders. Interesting. Well, but Donald Trump did go down 1 cent. Booty judge, you're right. Sorry, booty judge. I don't know. I at this point, I would have a hard time justifying a pricing Donald Trump at a higher than 45% chance of winning. It's not until after the Democrat nominee is chosen that I think you can really go in and say that he has a better than 50% chance of winning, you know? So, so he's already pretty much at his ceiling, and for him to go down a cent isn't a big deal, or I wouldn't say a big deal. It's noise at that point. Well, now we are stuck in a range. But now that we're down here at 28, I can see them putting stuff on. I still see more offers than bids. And the E-mini is just... Talk about, so we've been going now for almost an hour and the range is only 16 ticks. That's not pretty. It just went from 13 to 15. What are you talking about, live action? Oh, what the bids odds are in the offshore books? Yeah. And yeah, Pete is struggling with the black vote. I don't, I think that's something that he can overcome in time. If, you know, first of all, Joe Biden has to completely bomb out. So let's throw Joe Biden out there. Then that's when Pete can start to gain some more support. He's going to pick up the people that don't like Harrison Warren. Now he's a major contender. Then he will have the opportunity to address the concerns with black people. Because I don't think that it's fair to him, personally. It's just like he's a mayor in a place and like somebody got shot. Like, come on, it's gonna happen. It has nothing to do with anything that Buttigieg did. And as far as we can tell, it sounds like that it was although that police officer should have had a camera on. And he's gonna deal with it like, you know, in a, you know, much better than the people in like Ferguson did. So I'm not quite sure what it is that they can hit him on. Maybe you're right. He's pointing out that black people just don't like gay guys. That might be true. I don't know if that's a big enough barrier or not. IQ, any recommendations for antivirus software? Why do we get this question? Of all of the questions that I get from this stream, our recommendation on antivirus software is like the one that I would least expect. You say that the stream died? Really? So you can't hear me talking? Total data output rate looks okay. I'm not getting any lag. Maybe refresh? I'm going to type it in here. It's a pretty damn big barrier, bro. What? Yep. You still there? Video. Oh, it says, so I'm seeing here, video output low. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, viewers will experience buffering. That's weird. Live action says okay now, so I guess that means that he's back in. I can see my bitrate is still at 4K. Maybe my bitrate just went really low for a second or something. I don't know. This is kind of weird. Maybe I need to upgrade my internet connection. Hopefully there's not any issues with it when I get back on when it encodes the video. Oh, here we go. Antivirus test. I've noticed that when you get one of these, well, I'm going to have to look at yesterday's picture. Let's look at yesterday's picture. Okay, it's not quite. But there is a little bit. So when you get a spike like that, it seems like interest really dies down.
Now they went up and they had another spike, and then it was just completely dead after that. But here you got this same sort of a thing going. Here's a spike. There's a reversal. It becomes incredibly more range bound after that. And pulling on same-sex marriage blacks pull the lowest in terms of approval by a pretty decent margin, too. It'll be interesting to see. The whole thing, though, is, how do I put this? If the dynamic in the race continues the way that it is, which is to say that we have a very radical left fringe trying to push its way to the front, and the whole rest of the party completely uncomfortable with that. And right now, that is embodied in the people following Biden. If Biden collapses and those people flee somewhere, I think that they could flee to Pete. And if they flee to Pete, you could see a situation where, there are a lot of black people that do not poll very well for, a homosexual candidate, but he might change their opinion, kind of in the way that Obama maybe did for a lot of white people. Maybe we're getting too political in here. Well, maybe YouTube is throttling me because no, it's okay. Like if the market was like moving super crazy and we're still talking politics, then that would be a bad thing, right? But here, let me put it this way. If there is something about the market or what we're seeing or the trading that I should be talking about and I'm not, then, just put a comment in there about that so that, I get back on track, because we can totally take it too far sometimes, don't we? Probably we took it a little bit too far today, but that's okay. It's just kind of something to chat about sometimes when the market is slow. I feel that this market is slow. So, what am I going to put here in my notes? Large bid shows up there to stop for possible 4. Then when it got down there, we saw increased bids. Slightly increased bids as we moved up, then became stuck below 29 for rest of session. Reason for the outage could be YouTube could have said, you know what, Seth, we don't like you exposing that the Democrats are making a tactical blunder here, and we're going to throttle you. Okay, so we should make this big. Make it big, nice and big. You know what? Oh, no, but I can't change that. Okay, don't touch it, Seth. We're going to do it like... where does it start? It's right here. Okay. Okay. All right, so help me out here. Is there anything that I missed? Large orders being placed at 03, slight move up for a tick. Push back to 030. And that was up here. After news, moved down to 29 and large bid offers picked up, reversed for possible 4 ticks. This should say moving down at 127, increased overall interest, but not big buy interest continued to drop down. After a new low, small pullback, bid stack, and we skip up 2 ticks only to retest the low again. There's an iceberg at 28, changes been on, no follow through, offer wins out, pushes lower, ends with block sell iceberg at 27.5. They just really pushed. Then at low of day, icebergs at 25, market interest comes in and it ticks back down. It gets stuck and bounces before 750 news. After the news, they buy, but not sure if it really any interesting orders. 734 moving up, increased interest at 27, but not in big orders. Another big spike in interest. We kept moving up to 28.5 before reversing to an iceberg at 26.5. Large bids showed up there to stop it as well for possible 4. That might have just been like the exit for all we know. Okay. Okay, ES was incredibly range bound. I think that I need to add something here. Let's see here. Let me just make a new one here really quick. July tracking. So we're going to say day, trend, result, MFE, MAE. So the MFE and the MAE is going to be against the result, which is going to be if you took the correct trade, not if it was a trade and it lost. Okay. So I'm going to leave a space there for the day, and then I'm going to say, okay. Oh, and then let me add another one to the left. We'll say date. So the date is, July 16. The day, and we should add another one to the right. The day is a down day, and it's trending. Okay. So then let's go back to these notes. So large orders placed at 030, slight move up for a tick. Okay, so this was all the news stuff, so I'm going to ignore that. After news moved down to 29 and large bids and offers picked up to 29. Down. Result was a reversal. And the MFU was 1. No. Oh, I just got killed. Sorry about that. That was, the internet died there. Something's happening. I might have to check stuff. So that 29, it went to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this was 5. This is 5, and this is 1. Okay. July 16, down, trending. And here, was there something at the, where was it? Right here? There wasn't really. But again, we were trending down, and this one was a continuation. Is that correct? This was at 127. Oh, there, I did see no big boy interest. I see. So it dropped. No, so this one is a reversal too. And this one, it probed for really 0. 0, and that one, until you got another signal, you could have gotten 28.5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 potentially. Oh, this one was up. The local trend was up. This one was down. It continued. And now you'd say it continued from 28.5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Whew. 7 and 1, we're going to say. What's my next comment after that? Iceberg absorbs, market interest comes in and it ticks back down and gets stuck. Rebalances after 7:15 news. 7:34. So then there's a daily trend is down, it's trending, but the local trend was up and it reversed or arranged. Four from there, 1, 2. This was the big spike. Okay, still with me, guys? I hope that is good enough for me. You got some pretty good trends today. I should just be keeping it in this. I might just get rid of this spreadsheet. Anyways, now let's post the cryptocurrency notes. Windows Defender gets surprisingly good marks. They're still talking about antivirus. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is with it. It seems like I'm getting like outages in my internet. And I'm wondering if it's my router or if it's the if it's Xmission. But I'm gonna need to look into it again. Need to keep track of the time that it happened. Okay. My source is still down. Well, today the futures are actually a little bit flat, so maybe they're not so sure here anymore. I don't know. When I look at this chart, man, look at this. When it comes up there, it usually doesn't stay there very long. You know what I mean? Just saying. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys very much. Sorry about the connection. I don't know what's going on. It's only started doing this recently, right? So I'm wondering if maybe my router is going, because my wife complains about the router. It has been 3 years. Maybe it's just time to get a nice one. Oh, we got another spike. Another spike. I want to make sure that, well, I don't know. We'll just put in here. And take this picture again. You know what? I need to trading hours break line and make it dark gray and dotted there. Now I can see it. All right. Delete it. Paste it. Okay. Well, what do you guys think? I'm a little, I mean, it tells us interesting stuff for sure. It's not perfect, of course. This right here still seems to tell me that they want to go higher, so sure, they do it. And then here again, they're doing it. I'm not seeing like huge big guys though. So it kind of feels to me I think it's on your end screen because you went to your sign off screen. I don't know. Well, anyways, I should cut it off. I don't know what's wrong, but I keep getting like a short decrease in bitrate. So, but we'll figure it out. Thank you guys very much. I will catch you guys tomorrow. And in the meantime, stay profitable, friends.